Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. I'm your host, Josh Stallworth, and welcome back to our FutureFight series. We are currently on V-BT09. This is something Moonlight. I literally forgot what the set name is called, but it is the set that has Grand Blue, Pale Moon, Murakumo, and Dark Irregulars in it. So it's a pretty cool set. We're getting a lot of our, RG reformatted standard cards in this set, and today we're going to be talking about the Yasui deck. So it is our first Accel deck in a while. I feel like we've been getting a lot of Force and Protect decks recently, but we're going to be covering Yasui today. So this is a high pressure kind of restanding Vanguard type deck because they have a ride from drop zone after one of their Vanguard's attacks, so it's pretty decent of a build. You also get to run Shiryuki in it, which is our our limited card that got hit by the ban list. Sad face, because you guys know how much I used to play that deck and love the cards in Murakumo, but I guess you could say that for everyone. But we're gonna get right into the build here. If you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe down below and click the bell button so you don't have to miss any Cardfight Empire content going forward. Also, be sure to like the video if you like it. Comment down below letting me know your thoughts. I decided to build a pretty simplistic build of Yasui, so if you guys have any more complicated builds that you'd like to do, or that you have or that you've tested, please leave them down in the comments below if you feel like sharing for other people to see them. Also, be sure to check out my second channel, Let's Plays Animes, down in the description below if you're interested in anime, animation, or video games, and check out our combined Twitch as well as the join button next to the subscribe button if you're interested in becoming a deeper part of the channel and supporting the channel as well. But with that being said, let's get right into the deck today. So like I said, we're going to be talking about the Yasui deck. So high pressure deck, Accel deck. So I feel like all Accel decks are kind of high pressure because multiple attacks by default is high pressure in Vanguard. But this deck is pretty interesting because all of my opponents that I played against really didn't want to give me a counterblast when they were playing against this deck, which I guess like you can kind of explode from a counterblast, but in my opinion, this deck is not so strong that you should avoid giving them a counterblast at all costs, because eventually you're going to have to try to kill them, and you can't kill them if you don't give them damage, because that's how you win. So I would say do whatever fits the situation for you guys, but personally, my opponents that I played against in the games part of this video, you guys will see that here shortly, but I don't think that they should have just not given me a counterblast. I think everything in this deck is pretty low cost, so you don't have to try to do that to try to stall out your opponent for a win. Also, the later the game goes, the more Accel circles they're going to have and the more pressure they're going to have on you. So I feel like with, when you're going against an Accel deck, you almost want to end the game quicker than drag it out. Because I feel like the more you drag it out, the more the Accel clan is actually, going over you. Unless you have like a board wipe card like Exculpate or something like that. And even then, like, it's debatable depending on what Accel deck you're playing against. But anyways, let's get right into the grade 3s here. We run 9 grade 3s, starting with 4 of our ace card, which is 4 Stealth Rogue of Revelation Yasui. So this is our recreation of our G series Yasui with standard based effects. So let's talk about its 2 Vanguard abilities. So its first one is Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1 during the main phase, and then you can choose 2 of your units, search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 card with the same card name as each of those units, call them to rearguard circle, and if you searched your deck, then you shuffle your deck. So pretty simplistic, allows you a free +2 as long as you have 2 units to select, which you should have 2 units to select. You can even select Vanguard as one of your targets because it does say that you select units and not rearguard. So you can select Vanguard or rearguard, and I think that's pretty solid, pretty good. And then its second skill is at the end of the battle that it attacked, you can discard 2 cards from your hand, and then if you do, ride an Ambush Demon Stealth Rogue Yasui Tenma from your drop zone as stand, and that unit gets -1 drive until the end of the turn. So like I said, kind of has a restanding Vanguard aspect to it, which not a lot of Accel decks have, so that's pretty cool. And then Yasui Tenma itself puts itself to drop zone after it swings, so you can actually put this card on rearguard circle and then still meet the requirements to restand with Yasui in that turn. You also get another Accel marker, so unless you're going Accel 1, that's a +1 because you're going Accel 2 to draw a card. So that's pretty good as well. But moving into our second grade 3, we have 4 Ambush Demon Stealth Rogue Yasui Tenma. So Yasui Tenma has 2 abilities. First one's on Vanguard Circle, second one's on Rearguard Circle. The first one says Vanguard once per turn. During your main phase, you may counterblast 1. choose one of your units. Even itself, you may choose the Vanguard as well. Search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 card with the same card name as that unit. Call it to rear guard, and then if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. So that's really, really good that both Yasui and Yasui Tenma allow you to search deck or drop zone, meaning that it doesn't matter if your cards were blown up already or destroyed, or if you don't have any more copies in your deck, you can still do that. And then what this also allows you to do, which might be a small thing that no one thinks about, but if you don't have any more copies left in your deck and all your copies are in the drop zone, you can still look at your deck so that you can invoke a shuffle, but then you can also see the contents of your deck. If you're not good at keeping up with your triggers, like what triggers are left in your deck and stuff like that, you can still choose to look at your deck to search it but not get anything, because it says that, you know, you're getting up to a certain amount, so you can get 0. So basically you can search your deck, get 0, look at your triggers or whatever you have left, and kind of, you can even sit there if you're in person and count how many triggers are in your deck and then how many cards are in your deck, so you know your chances of checking a trigger. That might take a lot of time, so your opponent might not like it, but just be quick about it when you do it. But it's just, you know, a little caveat to this card's ability. So I would say, you know, use everything within a card's text that you're able to take advantage of to win a game, especially when it allows you to do it legally in the game. Then its rearguard ability is when it attacks on rearguard circle, this unit gets plus 10,000 power until the end of the battle, and then at the end of that battle, retire this unit and then choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and your opponent puts that unit to the bottom of their deck. So this is very important because a lot of decks shuffle nowadays. They have search skills and they shuffle. So basically when you're putting a normal unit back into your opponent's deck, if they shuffle any point after that, they're actually making their deck less likely to check triggers, which is pretty cool. And then also it allows you a form of control. So, you know, if you can control some unit on your opponent's board that is being threatening to you, or that is increasing their guard or anything like that, if they went protect 2, trying to blow up some of their units or something like that, you can blow it up and then it also goes back to their deck. So, you know, in the form of like Grand Blue or something like that, if you're fighting Night Rose, it goes back to their deck instead of going to their drop zone, which would only help them. So that's very, very good as well. Then for our last grade 3 in the deck, we're running 1 Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki. This card is limited to 1 in standard, so of course we can only run 1. Reason being is that its guard and its Vanguard skill are pretty much just too powerful. So its second skill is not relevant at all, since you know, Shirayuki is limited to 1. We can only run 1, so I'm not even going to go over the second ability. But the first ability is when on Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle, or Guardian Circle, when it's placed, you can Soul Blast 2, choose 3 units in your opponent's front row, and they get minus 5,000 power. And then if this unit's on Vanguard Circle or Guardian Circle, they get minus 10 instead of minus 5. So when you play this card on the Rearguard Circle, your opponent's front row gets minus 5. If you play it on Vanguard Circle or Guardian Circle, your opponent's front row gets minus 10. And so that really helps you either be able to push or really be able to protect yourself in situations. It specifically takes 30k out of what you would normally have to guard. So that's very, very good. You also have ways to get it back every turn while refilling the cost by using Rainy Madam. So you pretty much take advantage of it at the beginning of every battle phase. I will use this card defensively, but I can see a situation where you would use it offensively if you can see that you would win the game by minusing your opponent's Vanguard by 5k and hitting them with a bunch of attacks. Sorry about that, guys. But next card we run is for our grade 2s 4 Demon Claw Stealth Rogue Yoi Togi. So what Yoi Togi does is it has a Vanguard skill and then a Vanguard Rearguard skill. Now I will outright say that the Vanguard skill irks me, like it makes me irritated, because I feel like it should have been a Vanguard Rearguard skill, but that's just me. But on Vanguard, during your turn, all your Demon Claw Stealth Rogue Yoi Togi on your Vanguard and Rearguard circle get plus 3,000 power. So I would have found this cool if it was a Vanguard Rearguard skill, because it would stack and it would make all your units big, but then it would also work when, you know, you're not on turn 2. So the only way that this first ability goes off is if you ride it on turn 2, and otherwise than that, the first ability is useless, because you'll never be on it again, you know, once you go to grade 3. And then its second ability is when placed from hand, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, and then search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 Demon Claw Stealth Rogue Yoi Togi. Call it to Rearguard circle, and then if you shuffle your, if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. So pretty cool, because at least when you ride it on Vanguard circle, you are able to guarantee yourself another one, as long as your opponent was able to give you a counterblast or gave you a counterblast that last turn. And then for our next grade 2, we have 4 Stealth Rogue of Intangibility, Kuninaga. So what Kuninaga does is if you have another unit with the same card name as this unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card abilities, and it gets plus 5,000 power. So this is on both players' turns. So this card will be a 14k base if you have 2 of them on the board during your opponent's turn. And then also they cannot be chosen by card abilities. So any cards that would, specifically snipe them off, or even if you're fighting the mirror match, with Yasui Tenma, your opponent cannot select your Kuninagas. Sorry guys, I butchered that. Holy crap. They cannot select your Kuninagas for any retire effect. The only thing that can get around this is something like Blade Master that would get rid of the whole board or something like that all at once. It's a non-targeting ability. Then for our last grade 2 in the deck, we have 4 Unmasked Stealth Rogue Awazu. So what Awazu does is when placed, you search your deck for up to 1 card, put into your drop zone, and then shuffle your deck, and then this unit gets that card's card name until the end of the turn. So I usually use this to put a Yasui Tenma in the drop zone because I don't have it yet to do Yasui. I pretty much don't really do it for any other card in this deck because I don't see a point in doing that. However, if you just need a card in your drop zone, like you can even do Awazu on Shiryuki just to search it out if you have a Rainy Madam, and you can pull it back to your hand when necessary. So since you only run 1 of Shiryuki, you can choose to put in the drop zone early instead of invoking the draw. But usually, like I said, I just use it on the Yasui Tenma. Then moving into our grade 1s, we have 4 Wisteria Flower Stealth Rogue Takehime. So what Takehime does is adds a Vanguard Skill and a Rearguard Skill. The Vanguard Skill is when placed on the Vanguard Circle, look at the top 7 cards from your deck and then reveal up to 1 card with Yasui in its card name from among them. Put into your hand and shuffle your deck. So this card allows you a free +1 in the form of riding it and then just getting a Yasui card to your hand. So I think that's pretty solid. Sometimes you don't have a grade 3, or sometimes you just want an additional grade 3, and if that card is Yasui Tenma and you already have Yasui, that's really good because you're allowed to you're allowing yourself to have that as a rear guard, and then also allowing your restand to go off perfectly if you get both Yasuis in your hand by turn 3. Also on Rearguard Circle, when your Vanguard with Yasui and its card name is placed, you can counterblast 1, choose 1 of your units, and call up to 1 card with the same card name from your drop zone to Rearguard Circle. So this is pretty cool as well because this allows you multiple attacks. So basically, if you attack, let's say that you attack on Rearguard with your Yasui Tenma, and then it retires itself, and then you attack with Yasui, you re-ride into Yasui Tenma, and then when you do that, you can counterblast 1, and if you have a Yasui Tenma or something like that in your drop zone, or any copy of any of the units that you have on board, if you have one in your drop zone, you can now call it to that open circle where Tenma was, and so this allows you more attacks than Accel markers that you have. So that's very, 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 very solid. Moving on to our next grade 1, we have 4 Gateway Stealth Rogue Ataka. So Ataka is our regular top 5 grade 3 searcher that we run in pretty much every standard deck nowadays. So our first skill is continuous Vanguard Rearguard Circle during your turn. If you have 2 or more units with the same card name as any of your units, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. So pretty easy condition to fulfill, and then it can be a 13k attacker or a 13k booster, which is very, very solid. And then I guess something to be noted is that 13k here plus a Kuninaga 14 is a great number on Protect decks and other Accel decks because it makes 27. Not so much a good deck on Force, a good number on Force decks because that you would require 28 for that. But I mean, you can combine it also with Yasui Tenma and make, what is that, 30k? It's actually 33, so that's a really good number. So yeah, you can actually make 33 against your opponent, or 35. Yes, 35. So that's passing the 33 threshold. So still very good on force numbers and very good against your opponent's block. And then the other skill is when placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle from hand, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 card from among them, put into your hand, shuffle your deck, and then if you put a card into your hand, discard a card. So you can use this to get your Shiryuki or your Yasui Tenma or your Yasui. Since you run more grade 3s in this deck than normal, there's more chance of this skill going off perfectly and more chance of you getting what you want from it. So very, very good card that we run. And then for our last grade 1, we run 4 Stealth Fiend Rainy Madam. I kind of went over this already in the earlier part of the deck, But when your unit's attack does not hit, you can put this card into your soul and then return a Fantasy Petal Storm Shiryuki from your drop zone to your hand. So this allows you to reuse your one Shiryuki that you have over and over and over again, and makes the limit not as bad, but it's still, you know, kind of sad. Rest in peace, Shiryuki. Then for our grade zeros, we have one Stealth Dragon Adoba Spike. So what Adoba Spike does is, you know, just like every other starter in the standard game, when you ride over it, you draw a card, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 1 or greater, you generate a quick shield ticket and put it into your hand. Good for discards, good for blocking, nothing to be said there. And then for our triggers, we run 6 crit, 6 draw, and 4 heal. More draws because we do need pieces in this deck, and it creates enough aggression so that we don't have to run higher amounts of critical triggers or offensive triggers like fronts or anything like that. Now, I do feel like when I was playing this deck that this deck might be better with fronts, but that remains to be seen because I haven't playtested it yet. I only playtested it with crits, which seemed to work out fine, which is why I ended up going with crits for this video. So we ran 2 Dark Knight Stealth Rogue Clog, 2 Stealth Beast Moon Edge, and 2 Stealth Dragon Zomba Rider. 4 Stealth Beast Leave Mirage. This is our Draw Trigger Sentinel PG card. And then we have 2 Stealth Fiend Ebba Wing, and 4 Stealth Fiend Bamboo Fox. So that's our new heal trigger and our new draw. So we pretty much just run them for the arts. You guys know what it is. We run cards for the arts around here. We do not want to activate windows. Sorry about that, guys. And then we're going to load up Yasui Game 1. So Yasui Game 1, we're actually playing against a future deck, which is Shiryuki. So we're actually going first. We ride into our Takehime here. We look at top 7, and unfortunately we whiff, so we shuffle when we pass turn. He goes for his top 5 and actually gets it, which sucks for us, but, you know, it's okay. We do check a heal on defensive, which is kind of terrible as well. We used Yoitogi on the grade 2 ride to get another one. And then we play a Yoitogi, and we choose to play a Rainy Madam just to make some numbers. So we attack for 12, and then attack Vanguard. We get a crit, so we go crit power. And then we attack for 22, so we're able to do 4 damage to him. And as an Accel deck, that is something that's very good against a Protect deck. So it pretty much puts you in a very good position. He did take all that damage, it looks like, because he wanted to use Zangetsu multiple times. I don't know if that was necessarily worth it, but he does it anyways. He goes for attacking our rear guards, which we choose to take because we wanted to counterblast. But then when he had one big attack left, he didn't give us a counterblast, which, I mean, it's fine. You know, eventually he's still going to have to deal damage to us to try to finish out the game. So, you know, we use the Wazoo skill to put a Tenma into the drop zone, and then it gets Tenma's skill. And then we call Yoitogi, call Kuninaga, and call Rainy Madam. So we attack for 14, then we attack for 9. We attack for 20, we hit a draw trigger and a crit. And because he no-guards Vanguard and we got a crit, we just end the game there. So he didn't even have to give us a counterblast, but he did have 2 PGs in his hand, a crit and a heal, and another heal. So I think he definitely should have, you know, committed a little bit to guard this, even if he threw down a heal trigger for a 2 to pass, because he would have survived. But I think he wanted to hold more cards in his hand, and so he just chose to no guard that and take a risk. But unfortunately, that risk cost him the game. And so now we're going into Yasui Game 2. We're actually playing against Gold Paladin here. Looks like the Agravane variant. So we're going first once again. We ride Takehime again. Top 7 for a Yasui card. We do get a Yasui this time, so that's cool. Our opponent rides into Interlude Angel, which doesn't have a Vanguard ability. And then it doesn't do us any damage because it was 7 and he didn't hit a trigger. So we ride into Kuninaga, play a Rainy Madam, attack for 17, which is a number. He takes it, and then he rides into Arianol, plays Belinus, and plays Cloudwind Eagle, and then passes turn because he doesn't want to give us a counterblast. Once again, a different opponent doesn't want to give us a counterblast. So I don't really understand that trend because we can still do what the deck does without a counterblast. I just don't get it. Maybe someone can explain it to me down in the comments down below. But we decided to play out a full board. First, we go for the attack for 22. He checks 2 damage triggers, which is amazing on his part. But we use Yasui Tenma to put his Belinus to the bottom so that he doesn't plus off of that card. And then we do check a critical trigger, putting it all to rear guard. And then we put all crit to rear guard, and then we use Yasui's skill to discard 2 and ride a Tenma, getting a draw 1, and then we attack. Just we know that we're not going to pass the attack, but just in case we got an extra trigger to give to this column to make it stronger, or make him have to block more. So he goes into playing Aggravating for turn and plays a bunch of units off of Escrad, and then Cloud Wing Eagle gets, you know, a bunch of power. He swings to our rear guard, which again we don't care about, so we take it because we just want Counterblast to be able to use our skills. So we allow him to hit. He hits 2 front triggers, which is swole, but you know we don't care about it, so we just take the damage. And then we play 2 Kuninagas, and then immediately after we do that, he says GG and just simulate and gives himself 3 damage. So I don't really know why this deck makes people rage quit or give up the way that they do, but I guess it just does. But I think we were going to win the game anyways. Our advantage was really strong. We have 2 PGs here, a crit and a heal, and we are only going to get more cards in hand after that. So I think we were in a winning position anyways. I just can't say for sure whether we would have won that game or not. I wish our opponent would have just stayed around. But for our third game, it looks like we're playing against Luward, which is a cool playtest because this is also another future deck that we're going up against. So we're going first again. So, you know, you love to see it. Accel decks when they go first. So our opponent rode a 5k and does not hit a trigger, so he does not do a damage to us on turn 1. So that's pretty, you know, that's fine with us. We ride into Yoitogi, call another one, call a Rainy Madam, and then call an Ataka. Look at top 5, we do get a Tenma, and then we decide to just discard the Tenma because, you know, it has usefulness in the drop zone as well. So we go for a Wazoo, putting a Yoitogi in, just so that this can get plus 3k. So we attack for 12, then attack for 20, which he blocks, and then we attack for 25. We do hit a crit trigger, giving it to Vanguard, and he takes 2, but then he heals 1 off. So then he goes for playing Leafall. He counterblasts 1 to search his deck for a grade 1 card, calls it, and then he uses Abyssal Owl to Soul Blast 1 draw. And then he goes for playing another Leafall, calling Sharon, then uses Sharon to Soul Blast 1 and countercharge. So he attacks our rear guard, just like every other opponent that we've had so far. We take it because it's, you know, it's whatever. We go Accel 2, and then we go into a Wazoo. A Wazoo puts a Yasui Tenma into the drop zone, and then we go for Yasui, counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and call 2 cards. We're going to call a Yasui Tenma and a Rainy Madam, because we targeted a Wazoo basically. We go for shuffling our deck, and then our opponent asks us how we got Yasui Tenma. I guess he wasn't paying attention when we used the Wazoo. So I explained because a Wazoo takes its name, that we were able to copy it. So we attack into his rear guard for 8, which he blocks. And then we attack into his Vanguard for 14. We attack into his Vanguard for 25. We hit a draw trigger and a crit trigger. So that's pretty strong. He takes 2 damage, goes to 5. No damage checks. We discard 2 and re-ride. And then he blocks our Vanguard for no pass. And then we attack for 50 and he PGs. So then we put, you know, one of his Leofalls back to deck. So that's pretty swole on our half. And then I did not realize what Luward does. So I would have put back one of the grade 1s if I knew that it was going to retire 2 grade 1s. For its ability, but I assumed that that's not how it worked, so I didn't do that. So that was a misplay on my part. It was really just me not knowing the Luward deck matchup, because I haven't read all the cards that come out in that deck yet, since that is a future set. So our opponent goes into Drag Driver and calls some grade 1 cards off of Drag Driver skill. He makes us retire another one, which we retire that that Rainy Madam in the front row, and then he attacks with knees for 18k. Attacks for 28. We no guard. We get a draw trigger on defense and a heal trigger on defense as well, so we block. And then he's at 5 damage. You know, so you know, for Accel decks, this is when you start rubbing your hands together like the filthy player that you are. Because when your opponent's at 5 damage and you're playing an Accel deck, it's pretty bad for your opponent. So we start playing all these cards using Yasui's skill and all of this. So we get a Yasui Tenma and. Then we go for our attack. So I will say here, we actually should have attacked with one of our Yasui Tenmas, because I didn't realize that this grade 1 was the card that was allowing him to intercept with his grade 1s. So we could have limited his shield if we did that. But he chooses to 1 to pass our Vanguard anyways, and we do check a draw trigger bypassing the attack, and then we win anyways on this turn. So I would have said that it would have been a huge misplay if he would have survived this turn and got to the next turn, because that might have really hurt us. However, he ended up losing in that same turn anyways, so I guess no harm, no foul. But that has been the FutureFight Vanguard video for Yasui. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up on the video, like the video, comment down below letting me know what your thoughts on the Yasui build is. Again, this is just a basic build. I realize that there are a lot of different builds for Yasui out there, and there's different ways to add aggression or defense to your deck. So definitely post those down in the comments below so any person that's new to Yasui can also see those as ideas as well if you guys are willing to give them. And then also be sure to check out my second channel, Let's Plays Animes, in the description down below, and click out that join button if you guys are interested in becoming deeper members of the channel or if you're interested in perks. But with that being said, this has been Josh Stallworth from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Peace, guys.